I'm going to show you how to actually inspect a used boat for purchase. So as you can see here, there is some rust falling off of them, and these axles are going to have to be changed. Maybe a little bit of hollowness here, not as hard of a thud. It might be some water ingress here. That wood will start soaking up that water. We're going to take that out because we want to go in there and inspect the bilge, and we're going to check the stringers. Water will get in and creep in through the stringer and destroy the whole stringer. And you want to come into all the little corners. You want to put your feet together, and here we go. We got soft spots again. And his dad would come with us all the time. Unfortunately, a few years ago, his father passed of cancer. After his father passed, he actually dove down, buried his ashes into the ocean on this boat, which is super. It's just an amazing story. So, all right, what's up, guys? I got a special video for you today. We have a 1989 Wellcraft V20 Sport. If you know anything about older center consoles, this is one of the best riding 20-footers, in my opinion, that has ever been made. These are a lot like the Duskies. The ride is just incredible on these things. It has a super deep V, as you can see. This is a really dry boat. Look at the flare on the bow of that boat. Big old casting deck up there. Now let me give you a quick story. This is the rag bag. Over 13 years ago, I was in fire college. My squad leader was my buddy Brian, and Brian and I became friends. We had spearfishing in common, so we would talk about spearfishing a lot, and he said he had a boat. So me and Brian spent a lot of time fishing on this boat. We spearfished a lot, and his dad would come with us all the time, and he would drive the boat for us, and we killed a lot of fish on this boat. So a lot of good memories. Unfortunately, a few years ago, his father passed of cancer, and he sold the boat right before he died, and he sold it to his landscaper. His landscaper recently reached out to Brian, my buddy, if he wanted it back, and of course he said yes. So here it is, and it's amazing to see it back in person. It's really cool. A lot of good memories on this thing. So I'm going to show you how to actually inspect a used boat for purchase. I have a video that I've already done on that. I'm going to post the link for that up here. So I'm basically going to go through the boat from bow to stern, trailer, cover all the aspects of how to buy a used boat. I'm going to go over the price of how much he sold this back to my buddy Brian for. Really, Brian was going to pay whatever money for this boat, because this shows it's a sentimental value. Now, I don't recommend for you guys to buy a boat based on emotions, but in this case, my buddy Brian gets a free pass on that, and I still think he got this at a great price. So I'm going to show you guys how to go over a used boat for purchase, so you don't get scammed and so you don't waste your money. Now, you might have looked on Facebook Marketplace. Maybe you went on Craigslist and things like that. Number one, first rule, as always, title for the boat, title for the trailer. Some places don't require having you a title for the trailer or a title for the boat, but in this case, we're in Florida. You're going to need a title for the boat and a registration for the trailer. So we have those two things already, so we can check those off our list. And we're gonna start down here at the trailer. All right, so as you can see here, we have a Continental trailer. This is a dual axle trailer. It is aged, but it seems like it's in pretty good shape from what we can see here. But we know what comes with a nice spare tire up here that's brand new. All right, the winch up here looks like it can use some work, maybe just some cleanup and some paint. And the rollers do look dated, and they are. These can maybe use some revamping. All right, the wiring for the trailer looks good. We would have to connect these wires to your truck to see if they work. Well, we can't do that today because we don't have access to that. Let's take a look at the tires. The tires do look like they're in good shape. There is no cracking or dry rotting on the actual tire. Just look like these just need some air. And then over here we have the bearings that you could always use some more grease. Might have maybe even change some of these out, and we'll check the other side too. Besides the tires, the second most important part of the trailer is also the axles. So these axles don't look like they're in the best shape, So as you can see here, there is some rust falling off of them, and these axles are going to have to be changed. Right, they've been sitting for quite a while. Now, when you guys are purchasing a boat, that's bargaining power, right? So a new axle for a dual axle trailer like this is going to cost you maybe, you know, $400 or $500, maybe even a little bit more. So that's some negotiating power that you can use with your purchase. Okay. The bunks look pretty good. The hardware is all solid. That's all aluminum. There's no corrosion or anything like that. And since we're already down here, we can move on to the boat. We're going to check the bottom of the hull of the boat. There's no bottom paint on this boat, and this boat looks like it's in great shape. You see the chines, everything looks straight. There's no patchwork done. This is original gel coat. Really nice smooth lines. There's no hits anywhere. Maybe there's a little scratch over here. This is like sandbar things, you know, we're hitting on the trailer, rubbing on the trailer as you're retrieving your boat. That's not a big deal. That can be patched up. Same with this, some sanding and some gel coat putty and sand smooth, and you're done. Okay, that looks good. There's another spot up here you want to check for. There's all these right at the bow eye and all that. It's got some 5200 on it. That looks pretty good. And then you just want to do the same thing and come on the other side. All right, this boat has an aggressive V up in the front, and that's what makes this boat ride so good. Just the design is so good, you know, very aggressive V. Look at that thing. Yeah, I missed the ride of this thing. All right, so over here we have a stainless through hole. You want to check these. These are super important when you're checking a boat. These might need changing, right? This is rotted. This could crack from the inside, and then you have water ingress into your boat. This is not that much of a big deal, but your bilge pump is connected to this. If this cracks on the inside, your bilge pump, when it pumps, it's going to pump water back inside the boat, although this boat is very dry and really doesn't get any water inside at all, from what I remember. Okay, let's come over here. Now, when you come back here to the transom, this is the HIN number. All right, you can see the first three is the name of the company, so that's Wellcraft. And then over here you have the year. This is a 1989. All right, 1989 Wellcraft V20, and it's equipped with a Yamaha 150 two-stroke. This thing never left us stranded, ever. A good tune-up with this thing. Carbs cleaned, and this is an 02, Yamaha 02. I remember my buddy Brian. His dad got this thing brand new, and I believe it's got about 446 hours. And we'll check that up at the gauge. But this motor, these are very good motors. Regular maintenance. I personally would swap this out for a new 4-stroke, preferably a 200 Suzuki. I think that'll be a perfect match for this boat, and it'll make this thing fly. This thing flew with a 150, if I remember right. All right, so let's continue to check the back and the transom here. So we have some tow hooks back here. All right. Now, the transom is probably the most important structural part of the entire boat. Next to, you know, then comes the stringers, and then comes the floor. The reason is because your motor hangs off of here, and it's super important to have a strong transom. Now I'm tugging down on this motor, and there's no bending or anything into the transom. They added a transom wedge here. He said that improves the ride a little bit, but they added that part there. But the transom is super important. We want to make sure that it's solid and it's not rotted. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, there's a couple ways to do that. All right, the most effective way to do it would be drilling a hole and seeing if water comes out. Well, we can't drill a hole into somebody's boat that we don't know, so that's not really practical. All right, you can also get a moisture meter, okay, but that's really expensive. You can also get a survey done, but the surveys are super expensive. They can be anywhere from $1,500 and up. So if you want to check the transom to make sure that it's solid and not falling apart, can't guarantee that it doesn't have water in it, but you can knock on it. All right, now you can hear this, and it sounds solid. It's got a solid ping. See that? Solid right around the motor. Okay, over here is not too bad, still solid. Maybe a little bit of hollowness here, not as hard of a thud. It might be some water ingress here, but not enough for this boat, for this motor to be in jeopardy by any means. But I think my buddy Brian is gonna end up restoring this boat, so that's a good thing. All right, so let's continue to the other side and we'll keep checking the other side of the transom. And how does water get into a transom? Well, see this putty stuff, all this silicone, water will get inside there and it'll seep into the transom if there's a seam or something like that, and that wood will start soaking up that water. It also comes in right around these through holes like at the bottom. Anything that you open up here for, you know, like your Garmin transducer, or even here for your ladders and things like that. Whenever you're screwing into or drilling into a wood core of a transom, there's always a possibility of having water ingress. So that's where you got to look. You got to knock around these spots. Luckily, this over here seems really solid. It just sounds really good. This transom is still in pretty good shape and has a couple years left at least. So I think my buddy Brian is going to be able to get a solid few years out of this thing before having to do anything to the transom. But if he decides to do it, good for him, you know. But I think he can get a few more years at least with this thing. Yeah, like I said, you can also pull down and tug on the motor and see if there's any bending or any, you know, bending of the transom, like caving in or anything like that. And I don't see any of that. Another way to check too is you can look inside of these bolts, and this has like a transom brace to hold it. You would see this indenting or smushing into the actual hole, and you'll see that here too, and you'll see that on the inside. So this boat is equipped with a transducer because it comes with a Garmin GPS, and we're going to turn this motor on later so you guys can hear it start up. All right, let's get up on there and let's check out the Wellcraft V20. We're going to do a full check and full walkthrough. My buddy Brian is living in Georgia, so he's not able to come and do this himself, so he asked me to do it, and I figured I'd show you guys how to search an entire boat, how to go over an entire boat before you buy it. Either way, he was going to buy it, but he did want me to just take a look over and see what he might need. Okay, so one of the things that I remember of this boat that I love so much besides the ride is the space. It had a ton of space. The new owner, he actually put this leaning post into the boat. Brian had this open with no leaning post, so we had all this space to fish off of. It was fantastic. And believe it or not, we never had issues with water coming in through the stern, from what I remember. I know that you can put a piece of starboard or something here to block the splash well from getting anything, you know, any water coming into the deck, but we never really had that issue at all. So let's come back here to the stern. When you're looking to buy a used boat, you don't want to like fall in love with the boat of how it looks or how shiny it is. You want to try to look at this boat as objectively as possible, because that's where you get in trouble. All right, your emotions get involved, and then you end up making a mistake. So you got to look at this thing objectively. This is a 1989 boat that's well over 30 years old, so it's gonna have its issues, you know. So let's continue back here at the stern. So we got some plastic rod holders. Those could use some replacing or not, you know, not that big of a deal. You have your anchor light post over here, or cleat, and then in here, let's open up these two hatches so we can take a look inside here in the bilge. Because this gives you access. You see, it has these little storage bins that slide in there. It's very convenient. And then you have access to both sides here. See that? So you can have your anchor rope, your anchor rod readily available. All right, so over on the starboard side, we're looking at your fuel filter, which whenever you get a new boat, you want to change those out. You know, you never want to, you know, you want to start fresh. So I would change those out immediately. That's what I would do first. Change out your rake core. All right. So these rod holders, they drain into the bilge, and then we have our bilge pump plumbing as well. And then, as you can see, what I was telling you earlier, you could see that this bracket here that holds the tow hook. All right, you'll see that denting in a little bit, and it does have some denting in. There's probably some water ingress in here, but it's still solid. Actually, this is as solid as can be. There's no hollow knocking at all in there. Now check this hose out. This is a deck drain. So this is the hose that drains from the deck overboard. Okay, now I think personally this hose is too long, and it does need to be changed. So that hose needs to be shorter and needs to be more straight or in line, so it drains and doesn't hold water in here, if that makes sense, right? But that's gonna need changing. And then here you have a little storage area. Looks like this was added later on at some point. Let's take a look what that is. Yeah, this is a little storage area. There's some more rope and things like that. Okay. And then let's go over to this side. All right, a lot of space in here. Kind of the same thing going on. And this will be a good spot to check that transom. Again, it doesn't feel rotted at all. It's very, very solid on the inside. Right? And again, this hose on this side does look better. Does look better. But I would change them out just to be safe. And the through holes as well. You have your oil down here for your two-stroke, because this is a two-strokes, and there's your two-stroke canister, your two-stroke oil canister. Let's take a look at it from in here. Okay. Yeah, see that? A little bit more storage here. Now this is actually old plywood. Yeah, this is old plywood. A little bit more storage in there. Lots of storage on this boat. Okay. We're gonna close this up. See little bins that slide up in there like that. Boom. And then let's put these back over here. Okay. Now these were put after. I don't know where the original lids are, but these are starboard lids. If you wanted to make these out of fiberglass, you could. But these will do just fine. Now down here, you have another little bin for storage. We're going to take that out because we want to go in there and inspect the bilge. And we're going to check the stringers. Alright, so let's go take a look at this thing in here. Being that this boat is so old, it's pretty good. Alright. You're going to check the stringers of the boat. You're going to want to knock on them just like with the transom. Alright. Back up in here. Depending on the manufacturer, I'm going to get low to the ground here. See if you guys can see that over here. See this area here? So that's a good sign. Back up in here, there's a bung hole where water would flow from inside there, and it would go through the stringer and flow into the bilge. And this bunghole here is fiberglass, which is a great sign because water won't get in there. A lot of times manufacturers won't do that, and they'll leave it bare wood, and then water will get in and creep in through the stringer and destroy the whole stringer. Okay, we got a bilge pump. Looks like a 2000. That's a 1500. Okay, and then over here we have a pickup. This looks like the handle broke off, so this is going to be needing a replacement. All right, that's going to be for your live well, your wash downs and things like that. You know, you can connect that to that. All right, the bilge looks good. Okay, alrighty. Storage on this boat is great. All these little things, these are all cosmetic. You can change that later. You have another storage in here with a little access to the bilge so the water can drain. Okay, coming up here towards the helm, you have a leaning post. This was added again after. All right, and this gentleman made this whole. This guy's got all his things in here. This is nice. So you got all the safety equipment is in there as well. This is a nice little leaning post with a little rocket launchers off the back. Okay. Now, this is access for your fuel tank, and this is a brand new fuel tank, and it got coated in coal tar epoxy. 55-gallon tank that's brand new, so that's a big plus. You don't have to worry about this tank being bad. It was just changed out, I think, a couple years ago, and this boat hasn't been used much since. Okay, so that's a great That's a great positive. That's a big positive for this boat. From what I remember, this boat did have some soft spots on the floor, and that's typical for boats that are of this age. They're gonna have that are built out of wood. You're gonna get soft spots sometimes on the floor. Now, is it a big deal? To some people it can be. I personally would probably fix that, or I would definitely use that as negotiating. I'm going to show you how to actually check for that. This boat does have some soft spots. What you want to do when you're checking out these boats, you want to come into all the little corners. Okay, you want to put your feet together, and you want to put your pressure, put some pressure, some weight on those corners, almost through every inch of this floor. And keep going around. And already right here I start feeling a little bit, just a little bit, and more than likely it's because of the screws over here that were screwed into the deck and water got in there. So there's a little soft spot there, a little bit over here, feels a little hollow over here, a little less and less, and then up here goes back to feeling solid. And you do that all throughout the boat. Okay, here's some stress cracks. That looks like just from the paint that they put down, because this deck was painted. And you come down here, and here we go, we got soft spots again. And again, that's going to be from the screw holes that were screwed into the deck to hold the center console down. So make sure that you're checking for that, and that again can be some more bargaining power, because eventually this floor is going to have to be replaced. All right, now we were just talking about the fuel tank. This is the fuel tank cover, which goes underneath the console. Okay, these sometimes or a lot of times are soft, but this is an easy replacement. I have a video I'm going to put up on the screen for you guys. You can do this yourself for fairly cheap, for under 200 bucks. Okay, so this does feel a little bit soft, but that, again, that's an easy fix. That's not a huge deal compared to the floor. That's the deck. You want to do the same thing as you're coming up here, and you want to inspect every single part of the deck. So obviously this can use some touch up, some paint, some glass. Okay, this boat has been sitting for some time. Now the coring material in here is solid. You can see the coring material in there. They did a really good job when they laminated this up. They didn't do it cheap. They built this boat well. Check that out. Solid fiberglass. That thing's heavy too. Alright, so you have a huge storage area up here. Again, this is another spot where you can check the stringers. Look at the thickness on those stringers, man. Those are huge stringers for this size boat. They're like these things back in the 80s were overbuilt, and these things are solid, man. It's a foam filled hole. Okay, actually, you know what? It's pretty dry. Probably has some water down there. But this is dry up here to the touch. Huge storage area. You know, all of these life jackets and bunks and things like that, and bumpers and things. I think that, I don't know, I'm not sure what that is for, because that looks like it was recently changed. So that through hole looks like it might be for the live well that's in the console. I'll check. Okay, move everything around and get up in there. Again, this is a very clean boat for the year, and it hasn't been used. This is solid fiberglass. Solid fiberglass. And this hatch weighs a ton. Okay, let's come up here to the front. Let's come up to the bow. Let's check out this storage. Again, you got 2 anchors up in here, and you can check the back of those stringers. Look at this. Look at this, tons of space. Solid. This thing is solid as a rock. Nice and clean too. So you got 2 anchors here. You have a claw anchor and a Danforth there, so that's good. That's a plus. And then coming up to the bow, you got a little bit more storage, and maybe you want to clean up these wires up here. All right, and with the anchor lights, well, one of the things that I loved about this boat too is that you get this huge. This reminds me a lot of the Duskies. See this huge casting deck area. If you're, casting a net up here, you could stand up here. And it feels very safe up here. All right, let's take a look at the console. We'll come to a little cover for the center console. And there's a live well in here. Yeah, there's a live well. There's a live well in here. All right. And then let's take a look inside here. The current owner said that the wiring was done. recently, a few years ago. So the wiring is new, and it does look like it's been done and done well from what I can see for the most part. A couple little things have been added, like the solar panel was added to here after, but overall the wiring is very tidy, very good. All right, even up here, the panel, the switch panel, everything looks pretty good. And the rod holders here and the cup holders were plumbed. That's a plus. Okay. And then you have some safety equipment down here, and you have your 2 batteries, a deep cycle and a starter. Excellent. Pioneer speakers all around. There's 2 Pioneers over here. There's another pair over here. So you got some tunes. And then when you come up here to the helm, all right. So I turn the key over, and you can see the hours on the boat. 447 hours. That's pretty low for this engine year, and these boats do like to be ran. I know that this engine was taken care of by Brian and his dad, and I know the gentleman that has the boat now, he did a full tune-up over it with a local mechanic that we know. So I have no worries in this engine from my buddy Brian. But if you're a person that doesn't know too much about engines, and you want to check a 2-stroke or even a 4-stroke, bring your own mechanic so they can check the engine for you and make sure that the compression is good, make sure that everything is running good. One thing that I didn't mention is the gentleman did add hydraulic steering on here as well. This used to have mechanical steering, so he added a base star steering, which is an excellent addition to this little boat. So coming back up here, big old steering wheel, got a Fusion radio, got a Garmin GPS that Brian originally installed in this boat back in the day. You have your gauges up here. Okay, down here you have more cup holders that were added, and then a radio was added as well, and you have some footrest. Man, this is a sweet little layout even by today's standards for this 20-foot boat. Yeah, I really like this. Yeah. All right, you have your Yamaha controls, and you have your little switches, and you can see here, anchor light, courtesy lights. Want to make sure that all those work. Turn all of them off and on. I can hear the bilge running back there, so that's good. Bait well, and these are your accessories. There's your nav light, anchor light. You have a little 12-volt plug here as well. Go. Make sure to close that so no water gets in there. Cosmetic things. Yes, there's some cosmetic things that have been done and that could be done to make this a little bit better. What would I do? Well, I would round the edges off just to make these a little softer, kind of make it fit a little bit better. Probably replace those pieces that go up there, although those aren't too bad. All these little pieces over here, you know, these little gel coat cracks, that's pretty standard for this year of a boat. I would definitely change out this piece here, this cover, and try to maybe put a solid piece there, and maybe 5200, or maybe really silicone that up. I would completely redo the floor, but I think my buddy Brian could just sand all these little pieces, like take all these hatches out, sand them out, you know, fix any of those little cracks that it's got, repaint the entire floor for now, and I think it's good. This is another starboard piece down here. Okay, maybe replace that with something a little bit better, maybe a fiberglass piece, maybe something out of some composite material since it's on the floor. Redo the hatch, of course. Okay, and just give it a nice little detail. And I think that's about it. Oh, it does come with a solar charger, which is great, so you never lose charge. Nice little antenna up here, a Shakespeare antenna. Okay, the owner of the boat did install these mid cleats, all right, and he did paint this and added some non-skid onto the this area. And he also added this nice bimini. This bimini is brand new. Nice little bimini top. A cushion, sure, you could change out the cushion for something new. Plexiglass up here can be changed as well. You know, maybe modernize these rod holders into something a little bit newer. That's not a big deal. Everything else is pretty much cosmetic. I really like these old teak pieces. I would take them off and maybe restain them, and it'll give the boat a nice look. But I mean, overall, this boat, even by today's standards, is much better riding than most 20-footers out there, and probably built better than those, to be honest, from what I've seen. And we're gonna let's get this thing started so you guys can see how it runs. I'll come back to that now. I think the choke is on there. But...
It also chokes here.
Yeah.
It also chokes here.
Oh.
So we figured out, me and my uncle, there's on the bilge, because on tank we did the lines, we did the, ¿cómo se llama esto?
The fill? Alright, so let's get into the pricing for this boat. So the gentleman bought this boat from my buddy's dad before he passed, and he practically gave it to him. And he has done some investment into the boat. He put in a new fuel tank, a new bimini, put in the new leaning post. He's done the new wiring, he's done all those things. My buddy's paying $7,500 to get this boat back. Now the trailer does need work. He actually purchased a new trailer, and I'm very happy that he was able to get his boat, the rag bag, back in his possession, because this boat means a lot to him. You know, after his father passed, they actually took him out into the ocean, and he buried. He actually dove down, buried his ashes into the ocean on this boat, which is super. It's just an amazing story. If you guys are looking to purchase a used boat and you want a full list, I've made a list that's free for you to download on my website. It's in the link in the description. All you got to do is click on it and you can download it for free. So when you're looking to buy a used boat, you can literally print this list out and go check by check, step by step, and you don't miss anything like I might have missed in this video. I'm going to leave you with some pictures of back in the day when we used to go out in this boat. If I have any pictures, I'm going to put them up on the screen for you guys to enjoy. You know, it'll be a little nostalgic. You know, that's the rag bag. I miss this boat. I would like to go out on it one more time. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.